Destination Nightmare, the B-Movie Podcast.
Anyway, let's get on with the show and talk about this. I don't know what to call it. I guess it's a sci-fi movie, but it's kind of a different kind of movie.
That's how it's listed. It's one of those psychological movies with a down ending, and there's no monsters or spaceships or anything.
No, it's called These Are the Damned or The Damned from Well, I believe it was made in 1962, but it wasn't released till 1965 because they didn't know how to market this movie from what I read, because it starts off as like a kind of like a biker thug, British thug, and then it turns into something completely different.
Yeah.
It's Oliver Reed, Macdonald Carey in an inappropriate age romance, but
but I guess it was more acceptable back then. But he looked like he was in his
50s,
and she was in her 20s.
Yeah, good for him, If you can swing it, why not? But Macdonald Carey, he's the voice of by the sons of the sands of the hourglass. These are the days of our lives.
Oh, is that him? Oh.
Yeah, don't you remember after goes, this is Macdonald Carey for that was him. He would even like I said he would acknowledge himself, like the sands of these are the days of our lives, whatever, Yeah, I think there's only like 4 of those shows. I don't think that one is around anymore.
No, yeah, soap operas have gone the way of
the dinosaur.
Those too. I mean, there was a time when if you were homesick, you would watch cartoons till a certain point.
Some talk shows.
There would be movies and game shows, and then after a while, usually around like 1 or so, there'd be like soap operas till like 4 sometimes.
Yeah. You'd get like a UHF channel with a movie maybe or something, but the networks were all soap opera intensive. Yeah. I never found the
switch to like one of the independents, Channel 11, Channel 9, or Channel 5.
Yeah, they had to have a movie or something.
They would have movies, and then
old TV shows.
Yeah, well, I Love Lucy was.
Yeah, right. Leave It to Beaver, I Love Lucy,
Yeah, but Channel 11 used to do. They'd have a host and then show either cartoons or Three Stooges. So you'd have Captain Jack McCarthy would show Popeye. Officer Joe Bolton would show the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
Somebody else, I can't remember, he would show a different type of cartoon.
The one that I remember seeing as a little kid there was Sunday Funnies, read by Chuck McCann, and that was weird.
He would come out dressed like Little Orphan Annie or Dick.
Yeah, that was weird.
Or Dozzie, he's always closing the drawer on his finger.
Yeah. I remember that from the 60s.
In a Little Orphan Annie, he had like 2.
Yeah. That was disturbing, man. Chuck McCann. There you go, kids. There's a name from the past, if you remember,
Oh, God.
Usually the guy who hosted these shows Chuck McCann was already kind of well known, but in local markets, like the weatherman would be the horror host, or he would be like the Sunday Funny guys to read the cartoons to the kids or whatever. They had double duty there, so.
Yeah. I guess picking up extra pay or.
Yeah, something, it's like, so, but okay, it's usually the weatherman, or I know Charlie Baxter. I don't know if the Empty Graves guy, which we had down there, he was also Sunday Funnies and all that, but I don't know if he was the weatherman or not. But there was another guy. We're talking Miami and called Wayne Ferris, and he became like the kitty. And I think either Charlie Baxter or Wayne Ferris, they also hosted in the 60s. Remember when those cheesy Marvel cartoons came on, like the Mary Marvel?
Yeah,
they used to host the show.
Yeah, they used to play it there. I don't know. They must have had a host. I just don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember those cartoons. Really, it basically was like cutouts from the comics that they would move.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Hey, let me tell you something. Those cartoons were they got me and all my friends into Marvel Comics, so however, whatever you want to call it, cheesy, cheap, whatever you want to call it, they were effective.
yeah, they were.
They were,
And that
but
was back when cartoons on TV were not that common. Now you have whole streaming channels devoted to cartoons, but back then, if there was an animated commercial, you would love to watch it because it was animation.
sure, yeah, it was all limited animation back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was never like, these cartoons they have now, which are like all like super duper and, special and, all sorts of like gimmicky or whatever. Back then it was like the best ones were the Hanna-Barbera ones or whatever.
Yeah.
But at any rate, getting back to the movie, yeah, this is from 62. It was directed by Joseph Losey, who I guess was from what I heard, he was a blacklisted director who moved to Britain and did like, some well-known movies, even though this is one of his more, obscure ones or whatever, and, it's just, it's a strange movie. It's a very, I watched it a few months ago, and
Yeah.
when I saw it was on YouTube, I said, oh, let's do it again. You know what I mean? Cause it's like, I was like, when I watched it the first time, I was like, what? I mean, if you look at the poster, it looks like it's going to be like a Children of the Damned movie.
Right. Yeah. It's, like the village of alien.
Yeah, it's alien kid, and it's not really, but it's a little more. I don't know if the word believable is the right word, but it's not as far fetched maybe as that. I mean, it's.
In some ways, it reminded me of that movie with Peter Sellers about how, like, was it
The Mouse that Roared? Oh, Strangelove, Dr. Strangelove.
It wasn't a funny movie. This wasn't a funny movie, but it had that sort of Cold War, anti-war sentiment, and it was kind of almost documentary style, but very matter of fact.
Yeah. Very, almost documentary looking or whatever. Yeah, this, the Dam stars Macdonald Carey, talked about before. Oliver Reed, of course, playing a bad guy, as he usually did. Not always.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually did. And he was good at it, too.
He was a good thug, so.
Yeah, definitely a good thug, yeah. And I caught something in this version, just watching the second time, that I didn't catch the first time. And it was a scene where, like, later on in the movie where she says something to him, and we'll get to it later, but she says something to him like, the sister was like, oh, you never let me date anybody, even though you've never been with any woman. And I was like, wow, I never caught that the first time. Is he like, she insinuated he was a little, I don't know.
I don't know if he's a little that way.
Or mommy issues or something. I don't know.
Attraction to his sister.
Yeah, I don't know. But at any rate, it starts off with Macdonald Carey, and he's like, I guess he was divorced, right?
Yeah.
And he's in England, and the cute girl kind of like flirting with him, and he gets an attraction to the younger lady or whatever, and I guess she's like bait.
Yeah, she's bait for older guys, or for guys, I guess.
Yeah.
And then they're walking along talking, and she leads them up this area that's lonely, and then her brother Oliver Reed and his gang, attack him and mug him and beat him up, and then
and then they just leave him there,
yeah,
and then they take off,
They take
and
off.
then the next thing is you see him like being carried into this house, and you meet artistic woman, but then there's another guy who's like, was he a government guy or something? You
Yeah,
know?
kind of government. I don't know. They don't say, but he's obviously with the government, and the two guys who brought in.
And the woman is an actress. The artistic woman is Viveca Lindfors, who's in a lot of Euro
Yeah, I think
stuff.
she's Swedish or Danish or
Yeah,
something. And
yeah.
Scandinavian. But
But
yeah,
she's
so
like a girlfriend or something. She's like a real artsy fartsy
yeah,
woman, and
she's a real artsy fartsy. But the guy, I don't know if he's in the military or he's a high level
government guy,
government guy. That's
or
Burner.
or an MI6 guy or something like that.
And he's very sort of matter of fact and cold. And for some reason, they have a relationship. And she produces these really ugly sculptures.
Yeah, right.
Which, so they, these two men come in. You find out one's a major, one's a captain, and they're dressed in regular clothes. And they bring in
Macdonald Carey.
Yeah, and he says, "Oh, I got mugged," and he sees all his face is all marked up and stuff. And then she's trying to find out what he does because he's very closed-mouthed about it.
Yeah.
And so they have a conversation going that way. So then Carrie goes, and
then you see him back in his boat or whatever, and then you see the thugs driving around, and then the sister kind of like separates from him and goes and kind of like starts talking to Macdonald Carey. He's kind of shocked, like, what are you doing here? Am I going to get beat up again or something? And he calls her like a tart or something like that.
Yeah. And so they're, on the boat. He's talking to her and trying to talk.
He's trying to put the moves on her or whatever.
You see Oliver Reed and his gang. They pull up on their bikes and then they start threatening him again and making fun of him. So, and then Oliver Reed says, come off the boat. And then she gets off the boat. And so then Carrie, he swings his boat around, starts driving away, and she's, watching him, and he says to her, what was her name? Joan. He said, come on, so he's speeding towards this bridge area. So she starts running, and then all the guys run after. The biker gang runs after her to stop her. And then she jumps on his boat, and they drive away, and Oliver Reed's all pissed and stuff.
And they're like on the boat, and then after a little while, after he tries to put the hit on her or whatever, she's like, "Hey, you know what? Maybe I want to get back on land."
Yeah. And he's it's weird because it's on the one hand he seems to like her, but on the other hand he's treating her like a prostitute.
Well, because he's pissed that she lured him into getting the crap beat out of him. He's basically saying like, so what are you, the prostitute to make money or whatever? I mean, yeah. And then but he likes her.
And then she's all like, I got no future. I might as well go back home. I can hide away somewhere. Rah, 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 rah. So then they kiss, and then one of the biker gang is watching them through binoculars and sees it. And then he goes back and tells Oliver Reed where they are. So they.
So then you cut to a scene where you see the guy, the government guy or whatever. It cuts to like an office, and you see the artwork there from the lady or whatever. And they're talking to some kids on a TV screen.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell? Is this some weird kind of like, school for wayward kids or something?
Yeah, they're asking him some weird questions, and he's giving them answers. But some of the other questions, he can't
answer for them. Yeah.
When you're older, you'll understand, but now I can't tell you. And they're all polite and well mannered and stuff.
They all have wearing the same kind of clothes or whatever.
It's like they sit at desks, like school desks and stuff. So
was this no? It's later on where they ask him, well, how old are you guys? And we were all born on the same day. And you're like, what?
Yeah,
But that's later, I think.
When the Carey was talking to them. I think, anyway.
So anyway, Carrie and the girl pull off. She goes, I know this house where we can hide out. So they go to the art lady's kind of house or whatever by the cliffs or whatever.
The house is by the big...
It's near where the kids are.
Yeah, it's by the big house where the bigwig and the military people are stationed.
Yeah.
And they're on a cliff by the water.
So they kind of like, break in there and they have a little bit of some, they get all kissy and then it looks like the next day they had a little bit of, a little romp in the hay as it were, And then they're sitting there enjoying themselves and then, all of a sudden I think does that lady break in on them or something? No, they left because they thought Oliver Reed was coming to get them or something like that.
And then it turns out it's her.
It's the art lady, yeah.
The art lady.
And she goes to the bed and goes, somebody was here having, did something here,
Oliver Reed comes.
Yeah, because one of his guys spotted them where they were going or whatever. So.
Well, yeah, that's right. And then
they all give themselves that little whistle that's like, the theme song or whatever, crash, the da da da. They that's how they whistle. Remember, they had the same. They're whistling the same song or whatever.
That's how they contact each other.
Yeah.
So Oliver Reed comes and he's acts all weird and crazy towards.
He is. He's real quirky. He's kind of like acts kind of freaky.
Yeah, breaks one of her statues and she starts crying and stuff. So then he goes away, and then one of the gang spot Carrie and the woman, the girl, the sister, running away. So they run. They're chasing them, and then they climb over
barbed wire, right?
Barbed wire fence, which is how good is the barbed wire then?
Yeah, that those guys can jump over it easily or whatever.
And then somehow,
well, they fall off a cliff.
Yeah,
right?
They fall off a cliff, and then Oliver Reed, he sees them, so he starts climbing down the cliff.
And then the next scene is, I think you see them, the kids kind of saved the Macdonald Carey and the girl or whatever, and they're in that cave with them.
Yeah, they save Carey and the girl. They bring them in, and that's when you find out, the kids, they touch them. Oh my, the kids are cold. And they're like, ooh, you're warm, And then,
and they need towels because they're all wet, and the kids are like, oh, we never been wet or whatever. And you're like, what?
Does it bother you being wet? Yes, it does. Oh. And they think that Carrie and the girl are their parents coming to save them.
Right, yeah.
Because you don't really know what the hell's going on right now.
Yeah.
And, the kids, they look healthy and okay looking. And, I mean, it doesn't seem anything wrong with them. But they don't really know anything about the outside world.
It seems like they were just homeschooled and like homeschool kids. They were just left in a schoolroom. Because even this cave, I'm not sure. Was this cave? I don't think the authorities knew about it, or there was like their secret hideout.
The one guy did. He knew about the hideout cave.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Didn't want to put cameras in them because kids need secrets, and because in his way, he's trying to make sure the kids grow up somewhat normal, and so he gives them some leeway and stuff. And then you find out they're under surveillance. There's all these cameras and where they are, and, where they go to school is right next to where they sleep in these beds, and every once in a while, these guys in radiation suits come and give them things or do things. They call the guys the Black Death.
Yeah, right.
They're in these black radiation suits. So
so then Oliver Reed is climbing down.
Yes.
And he falls off a cliff.
Yeah, he falls in the water.
And the one kid kind of saves him.
Yeah, because he wanted to go look out this window that's grilled off, and there's like a little beach, under the cliff, and it's a little sort of alcove, and there's this little window with a grate on it, and then there's this door to the right. And the door only opens through radiation.
And the kid's able to do it with his hand. He just kind of like,
One kid, he takes the grate off, crawls out the little window, and because he sees Oliver Reed, so he saves Oliver Reed, and then they bring Oliver Reed into the little secret cave, and Reed and Carey go to fight, but then they decide not to, and
then like they do the same thing with Oliver Reed. They go, "You don't know what these kids are like. Touch them." And he goes, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Touch their face." And then Oliver Reed touches the kid's face, and he like totally like flips out. He like goes crazy. He goes, "What the hell? He's dead. He's dead. What the hell?"
Little zombies. He's dead.
Exactly.
So the kids say, we have to go to bed now because they're going to miss us. So you stay here because there's no cameras here, and you have to be quiet so they don't hear you because there's microphones everywhere. And then
I think it cuts back to a scene with the artist lady and the government guy, and she's like, she's just talking to him, telling him like, what's going on or whatever. I think that they have some kind of secret affair or whatever. I don't know, but and I mean, it's kind of like through a bunch of storylines that they end up like at the end they end up making sense or whatever, but yeah. So then you see the kids are just running around or whatever, and at some point they spot somebody in the cave. They spot Macdonald Carey through one of the cameras in the cave, if I remember correctly.
So they're trying to figure out.
And then they start talking about the kids, and then they start talking about how these kids were like part of some. What was the deal? Their parents were in some kind of a nuclear accident, and
from what I gathered, Britain was trying to develop its own nuclear weapon or something.
Yeah.
The guy said everybody everywhere is developed. It didn't really mention nuclear. I don't think they do. Atomic, I think, is what they said.
Well, they said after the bombs go off, they'll be the ones who start over the world or whatever. They're like very much like when bombs go off and everybody's destroyed, they'll be the new
people because they can survive the radiation.
Because they're radiated or whatever,
Yeah, so it was an accident. They were all born around the same time or the same day or whatever. And then the Bernard guy, he wants them to give the kids to give up. He said, "We know about your friends there. You got to give them up because it's dangerous for them to be there." And the kids start breaking all the cameras. And then
Macdonald Carey decides he wants to get out of there and take the kids out.
Right.
They don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And then
even though there was a scene earlier, right, where Macdonald Carey walked up to them with was that later?
That was later. Because after the kids broke all the cameras, Bernard sends the guys in the radiation suit down, and so everybody's hiding from them. And then what's his name? Oliver Reed knocks one guy down and takes his gun. The other guy has a gun. They both kind of shoot at each other, and he kills the one guy.
Right. And then one of the guys has one of those radiation machines or whatever, and then Macdonald Carey takes one of those and he starts beeping.
Clicking. So he thinks he's pointing it at the kids, and he thinks it's their clothes. So they start taking their clothes off.
And they're even beeping further or worse or whatever.
Yeah. Like, oh no, the kids are radiated too. He says, "All right, kids, put your clothes back on. We're gonna try and escape." So they get a key off one of the guy who was the major, and he's like, "You don't understand. You have to, you can't go. You can't stay here. It's dangerous. You can't let the kids go. It's dangerous." And they don't listen to him. But anyway, they get the key. They open the door and they run out into the quarry. And immediately there's people there, cops and officers, army people and stuff. And they collect and gather all the kids and bring them back. Oliver Reed gets out and he gets in his car or a car. And the one kid gets in with him and they start driving away.
Well, there was another scene before that, I think, where or is it towards the end where the No, maybe it's the girlfriend of the government guy says, "What are you doing with these kids here?" And he tells her the whole story,
Yeah, because
and then
she's up on top with a
yeah,
quarry in her house, and she sees that.
watching them grab the kids or whatever,
Yeah, trying to protect the kids, and they push her aside and collect all the kids, bring them back inside.
And they tell Macdonald Carey and his girlfriend that they can go in their boat and leave or whatever.
And then that's when Bernard Carey and the woman, the artist woman, are talking, and he tells her what's happening. This is where you find out everything. You say, kids were born radioactive. We didn't make them that way. That's the way they are. And they're going to be the ones who will be able to
survive the nuclear holocaust or whatever. And we can't let them out because they'll poison you with radiation. It's obvious because Oliver Reed's dying when he's driving with, because that kid loved Oliver Reed, and they're taking him away, and
kid who saved him and stuff. So anyway, she's like, "Oh, this is horrible. What you're doing, it's terrible." Blah blah blah. And then he says, "Well, if you don't support me, you know what's going to happen." She goes, "Yes, I know." So then she goes back to her sculpting, and he shoots her dead. Okay.
Yeah, I know that one. I forgot about that part it's the first time I watched it, and I was like, "Oh shoot!"
Yeah,
I forgot about this.
Then he sends out 2 helicopters, and it's like the one is one following the boat. And he says, "When they're dead, because apparently they're going to be dead soon, then just destroy the boat." And then the other helicopters following Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed, yeah.
And they sort of land on the road and block him, so that they grab the kid. Then Oliver Reed drives away, and with the one helicopter following him, and then he veers off a bridge and into the water and dies. And the scene ends. You see the ocean shore and people and the holiday sitting at the town. It's on the seashore, and people like sailing and swimming and stuff. And then it sort of pans over to the mountain where the cave is, and you hear the kids, shouting, "Help us, please, help us, please, please."
Yeah.
And then it's the end.
Yeah, you see, it ends with just the helicopter just following the
boat.
The boat, yeah. And you said, but if you watch the ending, it's like Macdonald Carey and his girlfriend, King's sister, were like, oh well, and they're all lovey-dovey and kissing or whatever. I guess they don't know they're not going to last too much longer or whatever, So
after all this, he turns to her and goes, "Let's get married."
Yeah. Meanwhile, there's a helicopter following you.
Yeah, and they're like, he goes, "We can go wherever we want." She says, "We can't go without the kids." So he turns the boat around, and the helicopter's following them. But they have orders: either they're going to die or they're going to
get killed.
Poisoning, and then they're going to blow up the boat and stuff. So
yeah, cheery movie.
Cheery, happy ending.
I mean, when I first watched it, I was like kind of shocked at what the deal was. I mean, I should have known by the poster there was going to be some kind of kids involved, but it just didn't seem like the transition from that part to what it turned out to be was kind of like, pretty different or whatever, It's an interesting movie.
Yeah, it obviously very
Cold War.
And Cold War ish, which I forget, but back then,
duck and cover and all that stuff.
Yeah, I remember in the 60s that they had, that was a big fear, like a nuclear attack and stuff. And every day,
you mean kind of like now?
Yeah. The more things change, the more they stay the same. But every day at 12, they would test the air raid sirens.
Right? Oh yeah.
And then you would see, walking along the streets, on some buildings, you would see those yellow civil defense signs or triangles or whatever the shape they were, meaning that if there was any kind of attack, you would have to go to that building and go to the basement to supposedly protect yourself.
I don't remember ever having to do duck and cover, but
I guess it was earlier.
Yeah, it might have been earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, but my wife, she's like 2 years older than me, 3 years. She used to do duck and cover, so I think we
Really?
yeah. You know, it was a real concern. And I think in the city, you know, you have all these big buildings and they all have basements. So I guess that was the reasoning. Everybody would go to a basement to, you know, get protection. But if you live out in the country.
Or if you live in an apartment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Well, yes. You have to duck and cover or.
Yeah, or kiss your butt goodbye, you know.
I can remember reading how to, build your own fallout shelter.
Sure, yeah.
You get 2 doors. You dig a big hole. You get 2 doors, and then you leave a little opening you can squeeze through. But the dirt from the hole you put on the 2 doors, laying across the hole. It was almost like a grave shape.
Oof.
Yeah, and then the doors would go over that, and then you would somehow like climb in, and then like maneuver the doors over the hole so you were somewhat protected. But
yeah,
it's gonna do anything.
Yeah, that's grim stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the fact that this movie was made in 61 and not released till 65, by 65, all that Cold War stuff was kind of like done in a way, you know, it wasn't as, it was more Vietnam intensive or getting there than nukes or whatever. But during 61, it was during the height of it, I imagine, you know.
Well, I still kind of remember some issues about nukes.
Yeah, so it was always looming.
It's not so much now, but back then everybody really expected. Well, like the guy in the movie Burn On, it was going to happen. It was going to happen. It's just a matter of when, and it's like now people don't even think of it.
No doubt. Well, people are thinking about it a little bit more now with all the fun that's going on in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Middle East, but back then it was like Kennedy versus Khrushchev or whatever, you know, Nikita Khrushchev and all that Cuban Missile Crisis stuff that, you know, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, interesting movie, a different kind of movie from Hammer, even though Hammer did do sci-fi, but this one was real political, you know.
You could probably call it political science fiction.
In a way, yeah, because it was very much like, you know, of the day, and it wasn't like real like, you know, giant aliens from Mars were really the prototype for the devil. It was, what was that one that the devil was supposedly like the giant cricket, you know, 5 million years to Earth or whatever. Did you ever see that one?
5 million years to Earth, yeah.
It was a Quatermass one.
Yeah, Quatermass. Yeah, the Martians came to Earth and they're psychic.
And they were giant crickets or something like that.
And then,
to me, when I saw that as a kid, I was like, what?
Yeah, it was confusing. But
I like it, but yeah, it was, you know.
Even though they died, their spirit, psyche, energy, whatever, was.
And then they found one that was frozen, and it got brought back to life. And remember, and then at the end, the only way they can kill it is by taking like a piece of iron and jamming it in it or something like that.
It was very. That one was really kind of. It started out interesting as hell, and then as it got after they found the Martians, and then they started going into the psyche thing and the energy and the land, and that kind of lost me on it. You know?
Well, yeah, when I first saw it, I was a kid. It was on. I remember seeing it on like one of the NBC movie of the week things, and I was like, oh, cool. But it was like, huh? After a while, you know. But I like it still. You know, it's a Quatermass movie. You know. I'm not sure if it's a remake. I don't think it's a remake of one of the earlier ones, but it's interesting. But
a TV show, which obviously took longer to tell the story. So, and I think I started watching. I was visiting my sister, and she started watching it. So I didn't see the full TV show, but from the episodes I did see, it was pretty good. It explained a lot more because it was a.
What was it, a Quatermass TV show or something?
Yeah. Well, in England, they'll do TV shows.
Was it an old one from the 50s or something?
I think early 60s.
Because I think that thing originally was called Quatermass and the Pit, maybe.
Yes. Quatermass.
And the Pit.
And the Pit. Quatermass.
Yeah.
There was 3.
There was Quartermass. There was one called Over There. Was a different. There was one called Enemy from Space, and there was another one called maybe X the Unknown or something like that. Something like that. Over There, they were called like Quatermass in the Pit and Quatermass 2, maybe. I'm not sure. Brian Donlevy played Quatermass or something like that. I mean, they're cool, you know, but this one, I mean, usually British sci-fi is a little bit. This one's a little more exciting. Maybe because it was directed by a more of a This is a little more memorable than like They Came from Beyond Space or something like that. Even though I did like the two, the one Island of Terror or whatever with the silicant. I'm not going to say what they pronounce it like, but you know. And then there was another one around that time, which was Island of the Burning Doom, which was a similar plot with more creatures. Those I liked, you know, but some of the other ones are, they're okay, you know, I mean.
Very wordy.
Very wordy.
And a little more intellectual than what you...
Yeah, not as action-packed.
Yeah, that's why I said it reminded me of Dr. Strangelove, because in Dr. Strangelove, there's a lot of dialogue to go, things back and forth.
I've never seen that movie.
I've seen parts of it. And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe back then it was like a new thing, so everybody was liked it and stuff. But for the parts I've seen, I don't know.
I mean, I've got my friend. He goes, we got to do a list of all the big movies, famous movies you've never seen, and watch them. And I forgot about that one. I got to add it to the list. Dr. Strangelove. Okay.
There's this movie, this comedy. It was supposed to be the funniest comedy ever, and it was, I think, written and directed by Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, Putney Swope or something like that.
And I couldn't. I'm like, I heard forever. This is
never saw it.
This movie. It's people are in the aisles laughing, and so I got a chance to watch it. It is the stupidest crap.
Dude, that's the problem. You know what the problem was? When you watch it, you weren't wasted on pot or whatever.
Yes, but I mean, it's basically
he's the guy who lives in the Empire State Building or in the Hollywood or the Houston Astrodome. He thinks he's a bird or something like that. Is that the one?
No, this one, there's this advertising agency.
Okay.
And the president's retiring, so they have to vote for a new president. And there's a black guy who works there, and none of the other board members want to seem racist. So they all secretly vote for him to ease their guilt, never thinking that the other people would vote for him. And he ends up winning and becoming president, and he has all these stupid ideas about what to do and how he's going to advertise, and it's really.
It sounds interesting, even though it's probably not.
You have to be of an extreme political viewpoint, to I guess to find it funny, you know. But I think regular people are like, what? And I think that's why it wasn't popular when it first came out. Because I think only the
hipsters.
Yeah, people who the elitists, the snobs or whatever, who would go see it. And everybody.
What about, what was that other one well, I'll tell you one another movie that I've never seen. But I think basically it's like the same kind of feeling. 2001: A Space Odyssey. People tell me it's like boring. Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it in the theater. And? Confusing. The ending is confusing as hell.
Okay.
I've read explanations about it. I've had people explain it to me, and it still makes no flipping sense.
Were you the one who told me that came out on the same day as Planet of the Apes?
No, I don't.
Somebody told me that both movies came out on the same day in '68 or '69 or whatever.
The opening scene with the cavemen and the obelisk.
Yeah.
That was interesting. And then they go into space, and then it kind of gets a little off kilter, you know. But apparently there's a monolith on the moon, and the reason it's on there is because the people who made the monolith, when they get to the point where they can go to the moon and do excavations, then they're advanced enough to make the next stage of contact, which is on the moon, one of the moons of Jupiter. And when they get there, the monolith, then it gets all weird, psychedelic, and loses me, because I have no clue.
Oh, that was the ending of the movie? Okay.
Yeah, go through this weird video landscape of, of perspective. Oh. And he sees himself as an old man, and then as a person dying, and then he turns into a giant space baby.
Oh, I've seen that scene, yeah.
And it's like, what the hell does that mean? And again, I've had it explained to me, but it's like, that doesn't help me like the movie better. It's just...
So you saw it in the theater in the 60s or the 70s?
60s or 70s, whenever the hell it came out.
Wow.
Around. And then I watched it one or two more times since. And I usually turn it off after he meets the obelisk in Jupiter. Because after that, it's confusing. I mean, I like the special effects. That's why I watch it. And some of the story. But other than that...
That's another one that I've never seen. Another one was Rosemary's Baby. I never saw that. I just saw Jaws like a couple of years ago because my friend insisted that I see it. So
that wasn't a bad movie, actually.
It was all right.
And Rosemary's Baby, again, I watched that, and it was creepy. And up until the end, I was disappointed at the end. Although now I understand it, but at the end,
yeah.
Because obviously the devil is the father of the baby. She's like, what did you do to his eyes? What did you do to his eyes? So apparently he's got some kind of
his dad's eyes or whatever. Yeah. I never saw it. There's a bunch of them that I never saw, but little by little. I mean, I never saw. What was the other one that people were shocked? God, I don't remember. Anyway, I did see These Are the Damned or The Damned, and I liked it.
It was a good movie.
It was interesting. It wasn't what I expected on first viewing. Second viewing, it was a few things that I didn't catch the first time. So, and Oliver Reed's was always pretty good. And
he's one
of it's a Hammer movie, and I like Hammer movies or whatever. They're usually pretty good.
Actors, Oliver Reed.
What's that?
He's one of my favorite. Oliver Reed is one of my favorite actors because he's always good in.
He's got a presence.
Yeah. When he's a bad guy, you always feel this as if he's about to erupt into violence.
Oh, those eyes, yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's always got that look, or like at any moment he's going to explode and just.
One of the most horrible movies I've ever seen. He was one of the stars of it. It was called The Devil. Did you ever see that movie?
No, but I've heard of it.
It's a Ken Russell movie from 1970. My buddy back in the 70s was big into Ken Russell, and the art house theater, the Grove Cinema, was playing. They would play their movies, but they would play Ken Russell movies, and we went to see that. Oh my God, I'll never watch that again. It's that one and The Exorcist are just like, oh no, unpleasant movies to watch. But they're critically acclaimed, so if you like that, but. It's a very anti-Catholic movie. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I remember watching The Exorcist. I was at college, and it creeped me out.
I saw it on a double feature with Deliverance. Can you imagine?
Oof.
3 or 4 hours of that in one theater, back to back. Yeah.
Oh man.
When I was 16.
That's a rough one.
Yeah. For the time, yeah, definitely, yeah.
Everybody I know who saw The Exorcist when it came out. Just they were freaked out by it.
It was an unpleasant movie, but it's well done.
Yeah, it was. And that's why it was unpleasant. It was unpleasant in a good way because it was so well done.
It was almost like it felt like a real drama with all this stuff as opposed to like some other whatever movies that are so like, outrageous that you don't get that same feeling, But this one was like very serious and very cold and Plus, apparently, not apparently, for real, Friedkin put in subliminals to make, you know about that, right?
I heard about it. Yeah.
He put
About
this face, they called it Captain Howdy. It's this creepy looking death mask face.
yeah, the
And
white face
yes,
with the weirdo eyes.
yes,
And
yes, yes. And
all
what he
that.
did was, whenever there was a horror scene, it was subliminally inserted in there, and it made it even creepier because it's like, you know, it's like, and that's against, I think it's against the law to do that stuff. Because back in the olden days, apparently they used to do it and put images of popcorn and cola so you could get more concessions.
But I think if you do it in the movie to make the movie creepy, I don't know if
They
that
did
would.
it. Friedkin did it to make the movie more creepy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
Hitchcock used to do it too.
yeah. So I think that might be okay, but like trying to put in subliminal advertising.
Yeah, that's what they would
Yeah.
do, like popcorn or whatever. Oh, speaking of not subliminal advertising, I went to the drive-in with my friend the other day to see that Godzilla movie. Not that great, but
Godzilla and Kong,
yeah, it was mostly a Kong movie, really. But anyway, he knew about it. I go, really? It's like, yeah, it's $6 each to get into the movies, but now there's a little bit of extortion going on because for every car that goes in, you have to buy a voucher of $10 worth of concessions because I guess the concession stands weren't doing well and they need to, make extra money. So basically, instead of being $6, it was $11. It was just me and him or whatever. So I found that kind of cheesy, but whatever.
Well, I know most movie theaters and drive-ins, that's where they make their money on the concession stand.
Yeah, you got to pay $3 for a little half-filled box of M&Ms, it's like, it's like that. What we did was we didn't want any concessions because here's another one. It was like maybe 2 weeks ago, and the weather was at night was like 50 degrees, and I was like, holy moly! If I go and get a drink, I won't stop peeing.
Yeah.
So I didn't get anything. At the end, I go, well, we better use this because if not, we're just giving them $10 for free. So we got some M&Ms and ate them on the way home or whatever. But yeah,
You don't get it before the movie; you get it after the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Home, so
Yeah.
that's why I stopped going to concession stand because I would drink soda, and
Yeah.
I have like Irish kidneys, so it goes right through me.
Yeah, me too. And I'm not Irish,
And then halfway through the movie, you're like, oh, I gotta go. That's why I don't like long movies, like Lord of the
Every
Rings.
movie's a long movie now.
Yeah, but Lord of the Rings, the trilogy,
Yeah.
it's way too long. And halfway through, I'm like, I can't hold it in it. I gotta go to the bathroom and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I was holding it in for the whole movie, and then when the movie was over after 2 hours, it was like, okay, let's go get concessions. But first, I have to go in.
Bathroom.
I have to go in and take care of, this whatever. I got a bathroom.
And from growing up, wherever we would go anywhere, my mom would always say, "Go to the bathroom first."
Yeah.
I go, no, go. So now every time I have to like go on a long drive or go into the movie,
Yeah.
I go first because it's like my body's trained that way.
But still, if you're driving around after a few hours, you're still going to have the worst thing that ever happened to me. Oh, this was the absolute worst. We were coming home from a convention. We're taking the Turnpike, the Florida Turnpike, and on the Florida Turnpike, in between rest stops and in between exits, it's like 30 or 40 miles. Well, guess what? In between rest stops, I got a most horrible urge to go to the bath to pee. So I'm in pain. So you know what I did? I said to my friend, pull over right now. So he pulled over on the side of the road. I saw a big tree. I peed behind the tree right on the turnpike or whatever. I couldn't hold it in anymore.
Yeah, I've done it. There's spots along the Pennsylvania Turnpike where everybody pulls off to pee because it's a nice grassy area.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Well, I mean, it's because sometimes on, Turnpike, it's funny, you'll go, there'll be a turnpike every like 12 miles.
Yeah, an exit, yeah.
Suddenly it's like the next rest stop is 50 miles. I'm like, what? And then you have to go. You almost have to go to every turn stop,
Oh yeah. No. It is what it is. I mean, the turnpike is the one that's in between. It's very distant. If you go like on, what was it, I-95, there's always exits on there, you know, depending on, usually, if you get off on one of the, one of the side roads, you might have a problem, you know, but 95 has a lot of stuff going on, but at any rate, yeah. Enough about peeing.
Hey, when you get to our age, it becomes
yeah, I know, yeah. Anyway, yeah, these are the damn cool movie.
Yeah, very good movie.
We were supposed to do Mark of the Vampire, and I couldn't find a copy of it, but I have a copy now, or I will get a copy soon, so we'll do that next.
Yeah.
And you can still watch it again on Amazon Prime, so.
Yeah, it's good enough.
That sucks about Amazon Prime. You think, oh, Amazon Prime, I've got all these movies I can watch. No.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, you have to get them, they're like a whatever for other channels or whatever, you know what I mean? Their free movies aren't that great, you know?
No, they're not. I spent an hour or actually more than an hour looking for a free copy of
Mark of the Vampire.
Mark of the Vampire. I even was tempted with, there were some that were translated, but they were too short.
Yeah, it's a short movie. It's only like an hour, I think, or something.
I found one that was in Polish.
Oh, God.
I'm like, well, but again, it was short and something was wrong with it. I'm like, yeah, this is just something. So finally I went on to Prime and I'm like, I'm just going to rent it. I don't usually rent movies. It was costing me like $3.69 or something.
Yeah, right.
Like, I think I can swing it for just this one. And it's a good movie. I like that. There's that one scene where one of the women vampire, you see her fly down.
Luna, that's a great scene.
That's a great scene.
That's the best scene in the movie, that one.
And great sets. And the story, it made sense. It didn't have unnecessary filler. It had some little goofy, funny parts that, back then were probably.
Of course, we won't talk about it now, but a lot of people hate the ending. It's like, okay, fine, a lot of people
love the ending. I thought that was great.
A lot of people, I was watching a show, a review show where they trashed this movie and they said specifically the ending, and I'm like, whatever, Now, what's interesting is that in the trailer for this movie, you see Bella, and it's a great trailer where he's really animated talking about the movie, and he's got like a gunshot in his head, and that's not in the movie, I don't think, is it?
In the movie, he has.
He does have it in the movie? Okay.
And on the side, apparently he was a suicide or something. And that's
okay.
In certain lore, vampire lore, if you are a suicide, you will definitely come back as the undead.
I didn't know that.
Oh. Well, you got to brush up on your Romanian.
Yeah, I got to go back to my Transylvanian. Anyway, we'll be back in a couple of weeks with, and we do have, I do put up movies that aren't reviews, just to keep, the channel alive in between shows. So, apparently YouTube wants product, and one of the movies I put up got blocked. Here's a good one. Okay. So I do Zontar. I go, hey, you know what? Let's see if they have Zontar on YouTube. So I find a copy of Zontar on YouTube. I go, cool. Somebody has it on here already. I'm just going to download it, and I'm going to turn it into a movie show. Put commercials in it. Put the intro. As soon as it's done, it says blocked. This movie is copyrighted. And I'm like, hey, YouTube, some other guy's playing it, down the road there, and that's where I got it. So why don't you block him? And so I had to do it all over. I had to get Bride of the Gorilla, which is cool. People liked it. Some people actually got a comment on it. So it's like, okay, I'm glad I did it. But yeah, Zontar, YouTube would not allow me to, it was blocked.
That's weird because it's on streaming services.
It's on another one. It's on another YouTube channel and it's free to watch, but it's like for some reason they don't want me to.
YouTube is weird. And,
big time.
The algorithm they use or.
No, and people tell me, you watch people on YouTube and they're saying my views went up, but my money went down. What's the deal? Yeah. YouTube is YouTube. What can I tell you?
By Google, it started to go downhill.
Yeah. So anyway, we got a movie show. I put in Bride of the Gorilla, and I put in the Pharaoh's Curse, and they got old commercials on and all that, and you know, and everybody that's watching this, please like this thing, and you know, give us a thumbs up, and that helps us, like, you know, do something. You know what I mean? Because on some other platforms, we get a lot more people, but we're new here, so, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
So anyway, we're back in a couple more weeks with Mark of the Vampire, but in the meantime, Roddy, what should we be doing?
You should watch more B-movies.